We
Is
can.
is
We
the
can see
slide
the
up?
screen. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Right. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for sparing the time to sit in on this webinar. I'm delighted to do this on behalf of the Devon Chamber. I think it's a great initiative to share our skills amongst the membership, and I'm 100% supportive of it. So the subject that I've been asked to talk on today is how do we go about making this year our best year ever? Because I guess that's what we all want in terms of business. I'm John Fitzgibbons. I own Sales and Management Development Programs. And what we do is in the title, really. We help business owners and managers optimize their sales efforts and get the most out of their management team. I've been doing this for over 25 years now, and historically, about 75% of my clients are located outside of the UK. But I think nowadays, to be quite honest, travel has lost its gloss for me. And I really want to do more work locally. So I'm trying to establish myself through organizations like the Chambers, the Growth Hubs, the FSB, and direct with some clients as well. So how to go about making this year your best year yet? I guess it's not a surprise that the focus is really going to be on selling. So I'd like to cover these 5 areas with you today. I did think about just doing an online selling course, but I thought, no, we can do that. We can do a selling course at any time, a workshop on that. So I'm going to focus on these areas. We'll talk a little bit about selling styles, different ways of selling. And I want to get you guys thinking about the value of having relationship selling. So that's the top end, what the kind of relationship seller needs to be and how they need to be managed, because they can be a bit of a challenge. And then the last 2 sections is about making your business and the employees efficient in terms of their time and effective in terms of what they do. So I'm going to go through each of these 5 areas individually, because I think they all have a big impact on how to go about making this year your best year ever. So selling styles, how do we go about selling? There are loads and loads of ways of selling, and I've put this little model together just to give you 4 examples. The purpose of this section is for you to think about your business and to challenge yourself, is there a better way that whatever resource you've got selling should be going out and meeting your customers? So the way this model works is on the left-hand column, that's generally 4 different ways that your clients can buy from you. And on the right-hand side is the way that we tend to sell. So if I start at the bottom there under commodity, a commodity sale is really where a good example would be where somebody sends an inquiry by email and says, please, will you quote for 3 dozen of green widgets? And somebody will sit in front of a computer screen, put a price together and email a response out. So the inquiry...
John, sorry to interrupt. I think the slides haven't gone to the next one that you're talking about, is still on the intro one.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. Let me try.
You can see the jigsaw one now.
You've got it now. So
yeah.
Let me see. Has that come in?
Yeah, we can see the one with how do clients buy? How do we sell?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
I'll tell you when I change screen next. So if you let me know if it doesn't do it, we'll have to find another way of sorting this out. Right. So at the bottom level, a commodity. people will treat some of your products and services as nothing more than something I have to have. And the trouble is, if people want to buy that way, we tend to treat it purely as a transaction. So inquiry comes in, quote goes out, and quite often that's the end of it until the customer makes a decision, yes, I would like to buy it. And when they do make that decision to buy, it's generally the cheapest wins. So it's kind of the Amazon model. You can go in, if you know what you're looking for, you can go in, find the cheapest, put an order in, and it comes to you. But actually, that may not be the best solution for you. So if we take a step up, quite often nowadays, business to business buyers want demonstrated value in what they buy from a supplier. And what that value is very different for each buyer. So the only way we can find that out as salespeople is to ask them. We need to understand why they want to buy it, how it's going to be used. And then we can sell them the value of coming to us. And there's generally a model that says, this is your need. This is what we're going to sell you. This is the solution. This is how it works. And this is the benefit you get from buying it from us. And then we ask them for the purchase. So at least in this way, there is an interaction with a client to understand what they're looking for. And because there is that interaction, we can generally charge a little more for that. And if we go up another level, when you have a strong brand, that adds value as well. That adds revenue and income and profit. If you haven't got a strong brand, it doesn't mean it's not worth anything. So the way we sell the brand is what the brand stands for. So BMW stands for quality in most cases. If you go to somewhere like Aston Martin stands for heritage, performance. Rolls-Royce stands for quality, luxury, being very special. But the lower brands, things like Toyota's value is they just don't go wrong. And even brands like Dacia come in, they have a value nowadays. Dacia is the cheapest in the market, but it's quality for that price. If we take the final step up, and this is where I try and get my clients to work at, I like the seller to be seen by the buying company as a part of their team. So the salesperson has to build a relationship with their clients. The value from that quite often is if the buying company has a problem, they will come to your salesperson and say, what do you think? And if you say, oh, well, actually, I think you should consider this, they will. In most cases, they will consider it. So what's the difference? How does this help you make 2025 your best year yet? At the bottom, if you are the cheapest in the market, you can work at a commodity level. But if you're not the cheapest, if you do charge a premium for your products or services, building relationships with your buying customers really helps you to establish rapport and trust and actually get them thinking about you being the only real provider for them. So there is a premium to be had there. And last year, on behalf of the chamber, I ran a one-day relationship selling workshop just to go through and explain how you go about doing this. And I've spoken with Claire and said I'm happy to do another one this year, probably in the Exeter area, because I didn't cover that area last time. But if that's something that you feel whoever's responsible for selling in your particular business, it would benefit from, then speak with Claire or Kirsty about it and get them on there. But the first thing I would suggest you do is agree what level of sales do you want your business to be selling at? Because the higher you can go, the higher the profit margin you can make on it. Okay, so that's the first one. So get your selling style right. The second thing I want to look at is, if we're going to sell at this top level, relationship level, what does a successful relationship seller look like? They don't look like that, by the way. Can you see the new slide, Kirsty?
No.
No. Okay, I'm going to have to do it a different way. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to have to do it on this. For some reason, it's not picking up the changes. So what does a relationship seller look like? Okay, I look at relationship sellers in this way. Whenever I work with a client, I will diagnose how good is their sales team. And I look at two areas. The first area on the right-hand side is what I call the effectiveness of the salesperson. And for me, that means, can the salesperson, during a meeting with a client, deliver what they want to out of that meeting? The second part, the left-hand side here, the operational efficiency side, is all about optimizing their time. So if you look at the best salespeople I work with, they have a clear plan about what every week looks like and where they're going to spend their time. There's no wasted time at all. And just to give you an example of that, when I look at how effective salespeople are, I look at their attitude, skills, and knowledge. So let's look at this. The attitude, first of all. I don't know if any of you have ever been in the buyer's seat, but having a demotivated salesperson come to see you is the most appalling thing in the world. It really is. So I like people that are desperate to do a great job, who really want to help you, who want to sort things out, want to come into work in the morning and want to be successful. People with a great attitude will use all the skills and the knowledge they've learnt every day. So skills is next. What skills does a salesperson need? Well, traditionally, the skills makeup of any role is contained within the job description. So things like communication skills, influencing skills, building relationships, understanding the client is important nowadays. So good questioning and listening skills. Knowledge is important as well. So I look at knowledge in 4 areas: product knowledge, knowledge of your customers, what their needs and priorities are, knowledge of your market, knowledge of your competition. So one of the things I would get you to do to think about now is, when was the last time you reviewed the job description and the competency profile of all your key people, particularly those that are interacting with your customers? And does it need updating? We look on the left-hand side under the efficiency side, 3 areas there that I'll look at, and I'll go into a little bit more detail with you on these as we go through today. The first one is the model week. I would expect every person to have a clear understanding before the week starts of what they will be doing this week, next week, the week after that. Which customers are they going to see? So have a contact plan. Are they spending the right time with the right customers? And finally, do they have a sales process? Are we up at this relationship level, or are we still working very low on a commodity level? Okay, so that's how I would go through and diagnose, is my salesperson good? So that's what makes a good relationship seller. How do we manage these people? Because they can be a little bit challenging. So let's look at this. The role of the sales manager, and by the way, it doesn't matter if you have no salespeople at all. If you are a sole trader, you are doing the selling and the manufacturing of your goods, you need managing as well. And the same applies if you've got a sales force of 10,000 people. These people need somebody to be responsible for them. And the role, for me, the role of a sales manager is to put every salesperson in the best situation to deliver their goals and consequently the goals of the organization. And how do they go about doing that? Well, for me, they've got to improve the effectiveness and the efficiency of every person. And I get them doing that by looking at these areas. So how do we improve their effectiveness? We need to lead them. We need to inspire them. And it's a challenge, particularly if you do have a sales team that works remotely from you for most of the week. So there are some tips and techniques that can be implemented, but we do need to engage these people. We might need to change their attitude. Not everyone comes into work fully motivated every day. There are off days. So we need perhaps to do a little work on people's attitude and commitment. And then finally, coaching. To improve the skills and the knowledge, we need to spend time with some of these people to make sure that they are fully competent to do the role. On the efficiency side, planning, organization is key. Efficiency should be driven by the standards of the business. So you set the standards. How often do you wish your people to go out and meet with clients? What amount of time should they spend with existing customers or potential customers? How many days a week in an average week do you want them to go out? So we can set some standards in place and then we can work to them. And then the most important thing for me is the performance management. How often do we sit down one-to-one with a salesperson and review their performance? What did they plan to do last week? What did they do? Why is there a difference? What are they planning to do next week and why? And what are they going to do to make sure it happens? Performance management, getting the most out of each salesperson, is the most productive way of making 2025 your best year ever. So what we will do is we need to look at this efficiency model and the effectiveness model a little more. So let's start off with efficiency. What does efficiency mean? Most of the time it's about time. So much time is wasted in industry. So we need to have some standards in place. And it starts off really for me with understanding how many days have I got as a salesperson to achieve my targets. So let's take a quick look at that. So at the top, you'll see in 2025, we've got 52 weeks. Most businesses pay their people to work 5 days a week. So over the course of the year, we have 260 days to hit our targets. Well, actually, we don't, because some of those 260 days, we are not going to be available to go out and meet with customers or prospects. We're going to have some non-selling days. So things like holidays, public holidays, and any of the administration, any other paperwork, proposals to write, CRM systems to update, plus any other office work. If you haven't got a full-time salesperson, they're going to have other things to do as well. But the total at the bottom we need to get to for a typical full-time salesperson, I would expect them to have about 150 days a year available to go and meet with customers and sell. May not sound a lot, but as we go through this, I think you'll understand why that is. So number of days available, about 150. So the model week, how are they going to fit these 150 days in to deliver our best result for us? Okay, so a typical week, Monday to Friday. When it comes to dealing with your clients, rule number one should be never go and see them when they don't want to see you, when they have other priorities. So usually most people don't want to see salespeople on a Monday morning or a Friday afternoon. Monday morning, they're trying to organize themselves. Friday afternoon, they're trying to clear out the inbox so they can have a weekend. So we've got 3 days in the middle that we could devote exclusively to customers, and we can do other things that we need to on the Monday and Friday. So we're going to have these 3 days a week that we're going to interact with our customers. What's best? Is it face-to-face meetings or virtual meetings? Because logically, face-to-face meetings are probably going to be more effective, but because we have to travel to them, we can't do as many face-to-face meetings in a day as we can via a video link. So let's take a quick look at that. So here's a model week that I developed with a client of mine's just after the second COVID lockdown. This is a very, very intensive week because the client has invested a lot of money in technology to support the salespeople. So what happens in this week is Monday is a planning and preparation day. So you'll see they have a video call in the morning, and then the rest of the day is preparing all the meetings for the week. Tuesday is their video day. Now, the research we did showed that an average face-to-face meeting with a client took about an hour, but an average video meeting took 45 minutes. So you can see here logically, if you have a 45-minute meeting and then 15 minutes to update your CRM, you can do 7 meetings a day in an ideal situation. Wednesday and Thursday, we were going out visiting clients. And in this situation, with the size of the territories and the travel involved, the maximum they could do was 4 meetings a day. So that covered Monday to Thursday. Now, what are we going to do on a Friday? For this particular client, all the meetings between Tuesday and Thursday, they were planned by us. They were at our request. So if a client phoned up and said, John, I've got £1 million to spend with you, we needed to build in some capacity for those customer-driven inquiries. So that was the purpose of Friday morning. If we did have any inquiries from clients, we could deal with them then. And then the rest of the day is booking meetings for weeks ahead and so forth. So you can see here, you can be really, really efficient with your time if you are well organized. Now, please do not think that you need to go to this level of detail. It's not necessary with most of my clients, but organize yourself properly and you will get better results. And that's the focus of today is all about. So what else can I help you with on this? Visits, again, getting these visits up to the right level is important, and managing the territory is pretty critical. What I see quite often is a lot of wasted journeys, and with the cost of vehicles and travel and so forth, nowadays, plus our obligations to reduce carbon footprints, we've got to help our people to reduce their travel time wherever possible. So for another client, this client was their people were out 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I introduced them to this form of planning, which is called a cloverleaf plan for obvious reasons. And the concept here is We map out on Google Maps or whatever the locations of our clients, prospects, and in this case, business introducers. We have a contact plan in place, and then we can map out the journeys we want to do in week 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it reduces travel and optimizes coverage. Again, if the goal of today is about how do we make this year our best one, what I see with every client I work with, the more customer interactions you can have, the greater your opportunity is to sell. So with all these things, what we're looking to do now is to say, which customers do I want to see? Which are my priorities? And in many businesses, the 4 down the left-hand side is the order in which their salespeople visit. So we want to see our existing buying clients first, because they're buying from us, they clearly have value. And what we want to do is to make sure that we are getting all of their business. The second group, the second most important group, are the clients we've had in the past that are no longer buying from us. So we need to go and find out why not. Is there an opportunity there? The third group then are businesses that we've never dealt with in the past, prospective clients. So we have to find a way in, knock on the door, go and meet them, talk to them to establish, is there any appetite to do business with us? And then the fourth segment would be any new markets. So for each of these groups, we need to understand on the right-hand side, how much could they spend with us this year? And what's our share at the minute? How much have we got of their budget? Because again, if we can get more of their budget spending with us and not with our competitors, it helps us with our best year ever. We need to prioritize and segment these customers, which are our most important ones, and spend more time with the most important ones. We sometimes forget, I think, that salespeople are human beings and they like to go and see customers they like, but those may not be the customers with the biggest budgets for us. So we need to have a completely objective contact plan, put some standards in place. And this is really important, particularly in some industries where it can be from the first contact to getting an order can be 2 years. So the work we do in 2025 won't pay out until 2026, 2027, 2028. So we need to have this pipeline of business coming through all the time. So the final thing is the sales process. What do we expect our people to do to deliver sales at a relationship level? So again, I'm going to give you an example here. So this is a sales process that I worked with a current client of mine to develop. They work in a business-to-business market, and statistically, 80% of sales in B2B are made between the 5th and the 12th meeting. So I wanted, for this particular client, I wanted it to be closer to the 5th meeting than the 12th. So we put this sales process together. So what you see here is down the left-hand side, we've given them 6 meetings, and there's a purpose for each of these meetings and goals they need to deliver. So the first meeting is really just to introduce yourself, to understand who the key players are. Second meeting is to meet the key players. Third one is to have general discussions about opportunities. Fourth meeting to refine it down to specifics. And then the 5th meeting to do the final research on it. And the 6th just to close it off. At this point, the client would then invite the business to tender for a particular contract. They'd write a proposal, present it, discuss it. And then if we got to that point, we would get into negotiating terms, agree the terms, and at which point that purchase order could be issued. Again, I don't expect in your businesses this level of detail would be relevant in all cases. But the important thing is to make sure that we are not wasting meetings and wasting time without having a specific goal in mind. So it's something for you to think about. It's a proven technique to help you reduce the time between first contact and getting the business and optimizing your performance. So again, it helps you to make this year your best year ever. So the final part now is about the individuals. How can we make them effective? So we're going to look at this attitude, skills, and knowledge. And this is really more from a management point of view now. But it doesn't matter if you just have half a person selling for you or 20 or 30 people. The key thing is to get the team as productive as possible. So if we look at attitude, skills, and knowledge in a slightly different way. So I'm going to put this attitude, skills, and knowledge into a Boston box format like this. So attitude across the bottom. The more motivated your people are, the further to the right they are. Skills and knowledge is on the left-hand axis. The more skillful, the more experienced, the greater knowledge they have, goes up to the top two boxes. So where we want all our people to be is in the top right-hand box. The reality, though, is you've probably got people in the other three boxes. So you've probably got somebody in the bottom right-hand box, the blue question mark, who wants to be successful, but hasn't really started developing their own skills and knowledge yet. You might have somebody in the top left-hand box who's been in the role for some time and perhaps has lost their motivation, got a bit complacent. We need to do something with them because they're not performing at their best. Hopefully you won't have people in the bottom left-hand box that are not motivated and not skillful, but you may have. So let's look at those from a diagnostic point of view. The top right-hand box will be your high performers. These are people that will independently go out and achieve their targets without a lot of involvement from their manager. The enthusiastic beginners in the bottom right-hand box, the way to get them to become a high performer is to improve their competencies. So improve their skills, improve their knowledge, improve their behaviors. So we need to put a plan in place as to how we do that. The experienced but complacent, and you may have some of these people, they've really found their own way of doing things. So not to be bothered by their manager, but we really need to re-motivate them to get the most out of them. Lost travelers, they can be a challenge. Before we do anything with them, we've got to re-motivate them. We need them to commit that they are going to change. Once we've done this diagnostic, we can now look at it from a leadership perspective. So the priority is to move any people in the left-hand boxes across. So we've got to re-motivate these people. We've got to challenge them. And you'll see on the right-hand side, there are a lot of management skills required to do this. Leadership, practical leadership of an individual who maybe isn't as committed as they need to be, but they're working away from you most of the week. That's a challenge. We've also got to understand, how do we get people to change their attitude? And there are some techniques out there that will help you do it. The other skills required: good communication skills, understanding productivity, putting processes and standards in place. All these things will help you to remotivate this group of people and move them across. And ideally, that's where we want to get to. We don't want any experienced but complacent or lost travelers. All we want is a team of high performers and enthusiastic beginners. The high performers we can generally leave to do their own thing. We challenge them, we do temperature checks just to make sure everything's okay, but they will deliver for you. Where we can focus our time is with our enthusiastic beginners. We coach them, develop them, and we need to get them up to the high performer level as quickly as possible. Now, how quickly can that be? It varies on industry and training. But for me, if you can't bring somebody in, recruit somebody on the 1st of January and have them pretty much in that high performer area by the end of the year, then they're just going to be a cost to you. They're not delivering what they should be. And these people will drag you back from your best year yet. So focusing on the enthusiastic beginners, coaching, having a clear delivery timetable and getting the most out of them, that's a real priority for me. So where are we? 30 minutes in. Okay. So how do we make the best year yet? Here's your pilot's checklist. Okay. Number one, are you selling in the right way? Are you happy you're doing that? Number two, if you want to raise the level of your selling style, are your people ready to do it? Are they effective and are they efficient in their role? Number three, whoever's managing your team, do they know how to do it? And are they pushing it in the right way? And then the final two for me are the most important. The efficiency and effectiveness model. That will drive the performance. And you'll see down the bottom here, E squared delivers Q squared delivers V squared. For me, what I see in every team I work with, if you improve the effectiveness and the efficiency of your team, not just the sales team, management team, operations team, support, if you can improve their effectiveness and their efficiency, that will deliver the quantity and the quality of business that you're looking for to deliver your best year ever. And working with that client base, you will get the value and the volume of sales that you're looking for. So the revenue and the profit. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat that again, just take all the rubbish away there. For me, how do you make this year your best year ever? Look totally at the effectiveness and efficiency of your team. Check that they are bringing in the quality and the quantity of business that you need. And make sure from those clients you are getting the sales, the revenue and the profit that you're looking for. For me, that is definitely the focus I would start with. And I thought I'd leave you with one little tip that I live with every day. Never leave money on the table for your competitors to pick up. Now, what I mean by this, quite often salespeople, when they get a deal, they will take it and they will go and thank the customer for it. But if it's a £5,000 contract, we don't know how much the customer's budget is. If they've got a £30,000 budget for this year and we've only taken £5,000 of it, we don't go back in and find out what else is available. Our competitors will. And the one thing I hate more than anything else is leaving anything open to my competitors. I need to understand the budget. So, in summary, how do we make this year our best year ever? Effectiveness, efficiency, upskill your people, get the right quality of customers, and from those customers, make sure you identify what the total budget is they could spend with you, and you go for it. You put it in place. Okay, so that's it from me. And I think what I'd like to do is let me just stop sharing for a second. I'd like to open up to questions now. I'd like for you guys to interrogate me. How can I help you make this year your best year ever?
Who's going to be brave and start off asking a question? Anyone? I might actually, I've got a question, but I suppose clarification. You said earlier, John, that 80% of sort of business to business companies need about, I think it was 5 to 12. I think you said meetings, but would that count for touch points as well?
Yes, it would. It
Yeah.
depends, but really it's about, I class every sale as a pursuit. So in other words, I have a focus. There is an opportunity for me here. Customer has a problem. I think I can fix it. And it can take from a brand new contact to getting a sale, it can take between 5 and 12.
Yeah.
Okay. And anything you can do to reduce that number of contacts is going to bring the revenue in quicker for you and make your year better.
Okay, cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it does. It does. Yeah, no, it does. I'm just thinking because obviously a lot of businesses use like lots of different ways to market themselves, don't they, and support their sales team and stuff.
Yeah.
So I suppose, different businesses obviously vary in terms of how many times they kind of need to see you and interact with you before they buy from you. But no, that's great. Thank you. Jeff, did you have a question?
Yeah, thanks for that, John. That was helpful. So I'm a team of one. So the stuff about making a schedule and not contacting or not arranging things for Mondays and Fridays is very helpful. I was wondering if you had any thoughts or tips on closing sales when someone has said they're interested and they want to go ahead, but then I don't know, it just seems to shunt from that point. I wonder if you had any thoughts on moving it forward.
Absolutely. If I start off by telling you, I had an inquiry about 4 or 5 years ago. I was working in America, and I had an inquiry from a company in the States who said, I understand you're doing some work with this company. Can you just do 10 minutes on closing the sale? And I said, no. And they said, well, why not? And I said, because closing the sale should be a natural conclusion to a conversation. Okay. So in the workshop that I run for how to go about relationship selling, a lot of it is about selling yourself, building a relationship, asking questions, having a conversation. Okay. And then once you understand what the customer's problems are, you almost replay it. So you say, you told me you've got this problem. Is that still right? Yes. Okay. Let me explain how we can help you with it. We got this product called the Hokey Cokey 2000. This is how it works to fix your problem. And this is how it sorts it out for you. How does that sound? Do you see what I mean? So I nowadays, I try and move away from pushing a product to understanding a customer's need. So what you're doing, you're not selling him anything except he's told you he's got a problem and you're telling him how you can fix it. So at the end of it, I look for buying signals, good things like they're smiling at you, and they're nodding and doing things like this. Because at some point, I just want to say, look, is this something you'd like to go ahead with today? Is this something you think, we could work with, we could help you with? On the course, I teach 4 ways. So, the best way is just ask, is it something you'd like to go ahead with? If the answer is no, you just say, okay, go back up and ask another question. Oh, I thought we had it covered. What have I missed? Tell me what I've missed. And they might say, well, I don't have the authority to go ahead with it. I've got to get my boss to sign it off.
Mm.
You know, in which case you then have to say, could I help at all?
Mm.
Would it be helpful if I came and talked to your boss with you? Okay. I once bought a book called 1001 Ways to Close a Sale, an American author. It's absolute rubbish, Jeff. Okay. It's 1,000 ways of trying to trick somebody into the wrong decision.
Right.
And I really don't do that. I would always say, just ask the question. You know, if you're getting the right signals back, just say, is it something you'd like to go ahead with? What's stopping us going ahead with it today?
Mm. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So there's a few conversations I've had along those lines, and had I sort of asked those questions at the end, I think we would have been further along than where we are. Where we are now is that
Yeah.
I'm sending the occasional email going, hey, what's happening?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the worst thing. It's like when you if you produce a quote, most businesses just send the quote by email.
Mm.
Okay. I'm a non-exec director of a company in Cornwall, and we've stopped doing that. I get the salesperson to go and take it out and to sit down with the buyer and go through it step by step.
Mm.
You told me you needed this. We can do it. This is how it works. This is the cost of it.
Mm.
You know,
I suppose that depends on the value of the thing that you're selling.
absolutely, absolutely. Because some of them low value, low profit products.
Mm.
It's very hard to justify a relationship level of selling.
Mm. Yeah, and I have. So at Time for Good, we sell subscriptions.
Yeah.
And that range from £25 for a 0 to 5 person company up to 250 for a 45-person company, and then beyond that is a discussion.
Yeah.
So I've got a few prospects that are at the £25 level, and I guess I could go out and see them. It probably would still be worth my time monetarily over, if that subscription continues for a long time.
Yeah. Or maybe a video call like this.
Mm.
One of the things we've done in Cornwall is I've got them to do a little video clip. This is who we are.
Mm.
Building the trust. If you imagine what it's like, I've never talked to you before, and you say, John, I want £25.
Mm.
You need to convince me. So what's the best way of doing it? Because probably an email won't do it.
No.
So if you can do a little demo video, or if you can just pick the phone up to me or do a video call like this and just say, look, this is why you should be doing it, John.
Mm. That brings me on to another question. If unless anyone else wants to jump in.
I've got one question
There's
from
one in the
Georgia.
chat. Mm-hmm.
Can I do that first, Jeff? Is that all right?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Georgia, you've asked about how would you recommend incentivizing your highest performers to stay and not to get bored when leaving them to perform. Are you in the fortunate position of having that?
No, it's just if you have people who maybe have been in the company for a couple of years, and possibly not so in the highest positions, kind of just incentivizing it in that form. Yeah.
Okay. Incentives are a very personal thing. It's a ridiculous thing for me to say, but not every salesperson I meet is motivated by money. I've met with guys in their 60s who are extremely comfortable, earned a lot of money, they've got a big pension pot, but to be honest with you, they're a bit scared about spending the rest of their life with their wife and nothing else. And so they keep on working, but they've created this little safe haven for themselves, and they're not delivering everything they could. So with one person, I'd sat down with him and I said, what is it you like doing? And he said, well, I really, really love helping the next generation through. I like training and coaching people. So I said, that's brilliant. I said, why don't we focus on helping you develop other people? But we can do it in a way that you can still deliver your targets. And he said, that's great. And I said, so in terms of everything else you're doing, you're delivering 100%, but you've got an opportunity to deliver much more. So why don't you use those potential meetings as a tool to help you develop other people? Take some of the newcomers with you and sit down with you, watch them, and then pass your knowledge on, pass the techniques on, and then talk to your line manager about it and say, when you go out and watch this person next, they should be doing these things because that's what I've taught them. You know, and people are happy to do that. If your people are motivated by money, then give them the money. Okay. I worked for a company in London in a long time ago, in the 90s. It was a totally uncapped bonus. My two best consultants were on a basic salary of £25,000 a year. And for the 2 years I was there, both of them took home over £100,000. Okay, because that's what drove them. That's what motivated them. The worst thing we can do, I feel, is just let people do what they want. You know, every year we need new targets. Don't just set targets in terms of sales. Set targets in terms of activity, quality of work, developing themselves, developing other people, all these things. That motivates people. I work with a company that it's a much smaller business, so they can't afford to have uncapped earnings. So there is a limit on it. So we put it like, we call it a collar and a cap. So you can earn between that much depending on your personal performance. But again, a lot of this is about the relationship between the line manager and the individual, knowing what matters to them. Georgia, does that help at all?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
I mean, the other thing to consider is when you get to the high performer level, not everyone is going to want to stay in that box for the rest of their career.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to lose some people. Some people will want to move from a sales role to a management role. So one of the things I used to do with my team is I had a deal with them. And I said, if you want to become a manager, if you can deliver over 150% of your target for 3 years, then I will spend time developing you to be a sales manager. So when the next opportunity arises in the company, you are going to be the obvious choice. Does that make sense as well? Yeah,
it does. Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
Okay, lovely. Thank you.
Really good tips there, John.
Alison, you talked about approaching new prospective clients where we've got no contact with them already.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a real killer, that, isn't it? Have you got that issue at the minute?
Pretty much. I think it's looking at all the other options, obviously existing buying clients, existing non-buying clients, and then it's the new prospective clients is the big sticking point.
Okay. Have you got a prospect list? Have you got a list of companies you would love to approach?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good start. Right. What I would suggest is this. The first thing, I always hated cold calling. I loathed it with a passion. So what I tried to do was to warm up the first contact wherever possible. So what I suggest to people now is, once you have your list, look at doing some research for each business. Find out who the key players are. So what I do is I go into LinkedIn, I'll do an inquiry on the business name and find out who the players are, who are the employees, and I'll look for the directors, the C-suite, the key players, the people I want to talk to. And then what I will do is I will see, does that person and I have any common connections? And if I do have some common connections, I'll pick the phone up or I'll send a message to those connections and say, oh, I'm trying to get hold of John Fitzgibbons. I've never spoken with him. I see where we both know him. Or sorry, I see that you know him. Can you tell me what it's like? And is it possible for you to perhaps introduce me, to soften it down a bit? And that makes such a difference. If we can't do that, then what I would always do before I phone up to speak to somebody, I would send an email. And if you speak to me afterwards, I'm very happy to share the structure of that email with you. And the email basically says who I am, what I'd like to do. But the important thing is I would also say, I'd love to talk to you. I will phone you on this number at 2 o'clock on Thursday, the 24th, if that's convenient. If it isn't, please let me know a date and a time that's better for you so that I can make contact with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep. Brilliant. Thanks.
Great. Thanks.
Can I just add something to that as well
Yeah,
quickly,
of course.
John? I would say as well, I mean, I spent a lot of years doing sales and business development, and I would say if you're a member of the chamber, don't forget that you have access to the members directory. It has additional contact points for most of our members on there, and it's always a warmer conversation if anyone on your prospect list is actually also a member of the chamber.
Yeah.
Because then obviously you can reach out and you've already got that warm connection there. And
Yeah.
also chances are if you're coming out to some of the events or things like this, that you'll probably end up bumping into some of them. So don't forget to kind of check out anything like the directory just to see
Sure.
if you know, if that helps
Yeah.
kind of build you or even give you some better direct connections.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you, Kirsty. Good point.
Really good point, Kirsty. Thank you for that. Right, Jeff, you're talking about cold calling as well. Have I answered your question on that?
Yeah, thank you. I'd be interested in that structure of that email as well.
Yeah, that's fine. What I'll do then is when I send the slides to the chamber so that they can be forwarded on to you, I'll send a copy of that as well, so that can be sent on. So you've got that.
Thank you.
Is that okay? Do we have any other questions? Okay. I've got one other offer for you, and that is, I know this is a bit rushed. We have an hour to do this, and that's it. If any of you would like any help from me, I'm very happy to give you an hour of my time, either face to face if you want to buy me a coffee, or by video, and just help you with your plans for this year or next year. I'm very happy to do that for at no cost to you, if it helps. Okay. If you don't want to, that's absolutely fine. If you want to find me on LinkedIn and connect with me, that's brilliant. And then talk to me about anything after. I'm very happy to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. That's a really generous offer there. Wonderful. And we'll pass out your details so that anyone that wants to take advantage of that offer from John can reach out to him accordingly. Awesome. Is there anyone got any other questions or anything that they would like to add before we round up? Oh, perfect.
I've bored you into a coma.
I'm sure that is not the case
Right.
at all. No, it's been really great. Thank you so much, John, for going through all of that. If anyone's got any questions, obviously, do reach out to John. Obviously, we'll pass out his direct contact details to you all. If anyone's got any questions at all that you think we can help with at the chamber, then obviously my details are also in this chat as well. I think you can save the chat. I think you just click on the little, well, I don't know, actually. This might be more technical than I can do actually now. I think you can save the chat somewhere on here. So I shall try and do that. But if there's any problems, obviously, to anyone, just let me know. Yeah, thanks ever so much for joining us.
And thank you to everyone for your patience, and I hope it's been interesting for you. Okay.
Thanks all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.